Hi friends, welcome to English Study Point. Today here in this video lecture, I am going to discuss with you about a literary device that is limerick. More than a literary device, it is a kind of poem. So we attribute limerick as a humorous poem that consists of 5 lines in a single stanza with a rhyme scheme of AABBA. And these limericks are not written by poets who are so much mature as well as sensible and those who have long experience of composing poetry. So these poets won't use limerick in their poetry, but an immature poet who at the start of their writing career, those who have poetry writing as their passion, so these kinds of poet uses limericks in while composing their poetry. And when they compose their poetry, they start their writing career by mentioning short line stanzas, and in which they used to follow simple structure while composing their poetry. And because at that point of time when they are forming sentences in the while composing poetry, so they have lack of knowledge of which rhyme to choose, which rhyming scheme to choose, as well as how to balance their poetry by making mention of rhythm, and also which meter to follow while composing their poetry. So they have lack of knowledge in these areas. That is why they start their writing career by making mention of so many kinds of limericks in their work. And when they choose words, so their words as well as phrases in their poetry also sounds unusual, because they also don't know the correct positioning of words, and they also don't know how to arrange words in a logical as well as sequential way while composing poetry. So they have lack of knowledge in these areas also, due to which their poetry sounds nonsensical as well as silly to the readers. So now at last I want to speak that amateur poets begin their path by composing limericks, and while they are composing their poetry, they make mention of short length stanza and follow simple structure without any kind of complex structure they follow, because at that time or at the initial phase of their writing career, they don't have any knowledge of which rhyme, which rhythm, as well as which meter, as well as structure to follow while composing their poetry. So now I am proceeding with this video lecture. So limerick is a light or humorous verse form of 5 chiefly anapestic verses with a rhyme scheme of AABBA. So, as I have already said you that limerick is a kind of humorous poem which consists of fixed structure of 5 lines, and it follow fixed rhyming scheme which is AABBA. And this particular literary device is more closely associated with Edward Lear, and we also see that it was popularized by him through his book, which is Book of Nonsense. And this particular book was published by him in 1846, in which he used to make mention of so many limericks in his this particular work. And so many limericks are used by Edward Lear, and we also see here that he in his lifetime used 212 times limericks while composing his poetry. So Lear wrote a total of 212 limericks over his lifetime. Now it is very important for you to know for which purpose it is used, means limerick is used. So poems are most commonly used to create funny imagery. Yes, we are when we are at the initial phase of our writing, and if we are taking something serious subject matter in our poetry, so if we don't know any structure, rhyming scheme, as well as rhythm and meter, and still we make still we compose our poetry writing by taking serious subject, so our poetry turns out to be funny, and also it creates a imagery which turns very funny as well as humorous to the readers, because we make mention of so many words as well as phrases which sounds very unusual, and that unusuality creates impression in front of the readers, and they may sense that this particular poetry is something which is very gibberish as well as silly. And also it provides humor. So these limericks are used by an amateur poets to provide humor as well as entertainment to the readers. And also by using limericks, a poet can also provide levity to his audience. Means that levity means that he chooses serious matter or serious subjects while composing his poetry, but when he starts writing his poetry at that point of time, he have lack of knowledge, due to which his poetry turns humorous. So that is why levity means treatment of a serious matter with in a humorous way. So that is called as levity. And immature poets begin their path by composing limericks. So who make mention of limericks? So and immature poets begin their path by composing limericks and intended to be nonsensical. Yes, it intends to be nonsensical, means gibberish as well as silly for the readers who are reading poetry of an immature poet, because there is presence of so many words which as well as phrases which sounds very unusual, due to which readers can sense that this poetry is something which is very humorous. Then I am telling you one very fine example, and that is the poetry by Edward Lear, which contains, and there in this poetry there is presence of limerick. So a limerick, as I have already said you, it is a humorous poem which contains 5 lines in one single stanza with fixed rhyming scheme of AA BBA. So now I am reading these lines. There was an old man in a tree. So tree, I remark this word with a rhyming scheme. Then who was horribly bored by a bee. So I also remark this bee with a rhyming scheme, because tree as well as bee sound similar here. Now when they said does it buzz. So buzz, this word and pronunciation of this word is different from the words which I have said above in the above lines. So buzz is remarked with B. Then he replied, yes, it does. So here we can see that buzz as well as does sounds similar. So I remark does also with B rhyming scheme. So then another there is a line, it's a regular brute of a bee. So here B, I also remark this word with A rhyming scheme. So here you can see A, then B also with A rhyming scheme. Then this word buzz is pronounced differently. So I remark this with B, then does is with B, then B with A. So this is a fixed rhyming scheme, uh, and writer used to follow limerick in their works. So they used to make mention of fixed rhyming scheme, that is AABBA. Then there is another stanza in this poetry. There was an old man with a beard. So I remarked this beard with a rhyming scheme. Then who said, it is just as I feared. I also remarked this with beard as well as feared with a rhyming scheme, because these words are similar in pronunciation, or they sounds very similar to each other. Then there is another line, two owls and a hen, four larks and a wren. So hen as well as wren pronounced differently. So I remarked these two words, hen as well as wren, with B rhyming scheme. Then have all built their nest in my beard. So then this particular word B, beard, is marked again with A rhyming scheme. So then with this particular video lecture ends here. Hope this video lecture will help you in your UGC NET English literature exams.